Hey, good afternoon. We're welcoming people into our room here today. We have a lovely day in State College. The sun is shining. The Old Main bells have just rung, so we will get started here with our wonderful panel that we have. My name is Dana Wenger, and I'm a student and alumni relations coordinator and career coach here in Liberal Arts. And I meet with students one-on-one in career coaching, and we have programming through our office, and we will keep you posted on a little bit more there later and share some resources for you. I'm happy to be joined by our intern, Paris. Paris is an undergraduate and a graduate student as an IUG program in architectural engineering and French. And she has minors in international engineering, math, and entrepreneurship and innovation. Welcome, Paris. And we will be announcing our three alumni panelists. We also have Lauren Grenice, our assistant director here as well, helping to monitor the Q&A. So we want you to ask lots of questions to these panelists. As we were mentioning when we were talking with each other, we all, career coaches can help you with your resume and help you learn about different pathways, but to directly have a time to ask questions to people that are in this field that have been in your shoes before as students is a great opportunity. Okay, so before we begin, I just want to take a moment to sincerely thank these three amazing panelists. We're truly honored to have you here today. We've been looking forward to this event. We can't wait to hear more about your career journeys. So we're going to read your bios and then we're going to jump into the first question. And again, students, feel free to ask as many questions as you want. Paris, I'll turn it over to you to read our first panelist bio.
JB Branch is a 2013 graduate of Penn State University, where he studied political science in the College of Liberal Arts, was a member of the Schreier Honors College, and a Paterno Fellow. He currently serves as AI Governance and Technology Policy Counsel at Public Citizen, where his work focuses on artificial intelligence governance, consumer protection, civil rights, and technology accountability. Branch's work has included congressional testimony, national advocacy, coalition leadership, and published legal and policy analysis on emerging technology harms. His writing and commentary have appeared in outlets including The Washington Post, Lawfare, TechCrunch, and NPR. Before joining Public Citizen, he held leadership and policy roles across civil rights, justice reform, and political interest technology organizations. He also holds a JD from Georgetown's Law and a Master of Administration from Harvard Kennedy School. Welcome, JB.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Hey, we have Sherry Rice, who is a 2007 graduate of Penn State, where she earned a Bachelor of Science in Psychology with a minor in business. She currently serves as faculty engagement specialist with teaching and learning with technology at Penn State. Sherry develops and delivers impactful faculty professional development focused on the innovative use of technology to enhance student learning and engagement. This work includes implementing instructional technology strategies across a wide range of academic programs grounded in established instructional theories and principles. Expertise includes program creation, delivery, and assessment, as well as event planning. A few of Sherry's recent accomplishments is that she co-edited an open educational resource focused on incorporating AI literacy into public speaking course, chairing the annual TLT Symposium, which brings together 400 Penn State faculty and staff to explore ways that Penn State faculty are transforming teaching and learning through technology, and designing a Canvas course for new faculty to learn about resources and units at Penn State, including AI and other emerging technology resources. Welcome, Sherry.
Gregory Mitchell is a Penn State class of 2020 graduate who double majored in economics and community, environment, and development, and also earned an MS in energy, environmental, and food economics via the Schreier Honors College IUG program. After Penn State, Gregory worked in Washington, D.C. as an economic consultant focused on antitrust and healthcare market analysis before transitioning to research and analytics in the nonprofit and social impact space. Drawn to the potential of technology to address systematic challenges, he returned to school and earned a second master's degree in computer science and public policy from the University of Chicago. During that time, he interned with ID Insight in Nairobi, Kenya, where he helped build Metric, an AI-powered tool that delivers real-time data and analytics to nonprofit and government leaders via WhatsApp. Gregory is currently a Nobel Research Scholar and AI and Data Innovation Fellow at Montgomery County, PA, where he develops AI and machine learning solutions for local government and helps lead the county's AI Advisory Council. His career reflects a consistent thread using data and technology in service of communities. Welcome, Gregory.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
And now moving on to the first question, could you all please tell us about your current position and how you may have decided on your career journey?
Uh,
Sorry.
yeah, please go ahead, Greg.
Yeah, to kind of continue what Parrish just said, I am a Nobel Reach Scholar. So I actually just finished school in Chicago in June of last year. So it's surprising it's already almost been a year. Um, I got accepted to the Nobel Reach Scholar program. I'm in the second cohort. The fellowship program is designed to put people with technical backgrounds into public service-oriented roles. And so a lot of that has been in local government, in particular this past year. I got matched with Montgomery County, and it was really a great fit for me because I had a background in community development, thinking about public policy problems, and had to kind of then recently develop a deeper skill set in computer science, machine learning, AI. And that's exactly what they were kind of looking for, someone who can kind of bridge the gap between both the technical and the policy and social. So I came in and have been kind of working at the intersection. I've been building various prototypes and tools. I've been talking to a lot of people about how to be thinking about AI governance and what it means to be deploying these kinds of tools in these spaces. And I think all of that has really kind of blended together. I think my interest in, again, the policy, the sort of implications, as well as the actual technology.
Cherry?
Oh, yep, I can go. So for me, my current role, as we said, is currently here at Penn State. And what I would actually say is my role is more of an educational role that sits at the intersection with technology. So at the heart of it, my role is really helping faculty think about how can we make sure that we're teaching students, providing learning strategies, making sure that we have learning outcomes that match our learning objectives. But how can we use technology to really ensure that we're getting to the goals that we want to for faculty? So a lot of what I do, as said in the bio, is about developing different opportunities. So a lot of that will be maybe workshops that faculty will go to, consultations. We also do really like longer term projects where faculty think about, I want to include or incorporate this technology in this way. So that might range anywhere from AI to VR to different types of maybe live polling. So if you think about a lot of the tools that you have access to here at Penn State, so maybe things like Top Hat. And so we really ensure that we're making sure that faculty think about how to best integrate those in a way that is putting the pedagogy and the learning before the technology, but then thinking how that technology can really support their goals. So I've been kind of in the education realm for most of my career, and I navigated more towards this faculty professional development role with the technology focus over the last 4 years. But I actually started my career as a guidance counselor. So I actually worked in the K-12 system, working with students and helping them navigate and think about how to be successful in high school and thinking then about life into college. And then I actually moved into a career services role here at Penn State and really started to work with the curriculum within the Business Career Center and the courses that I was helping to teach there. And I really liked kind of that faculty aspect and thought it would be really great to sit on the faculty side and think about how do we make sure that we're infusing thoughtful technology, which right now basically is AI. Everyone is talking about AI on the faculty end. So my life is about AI literacy at this moment. But it does talk about all different types of technology and faculty integration.
Cool. Well, similar to Sherry, actually, I started my career off in K-12 education. So I was a school teacher. I did Teach for America, actually. And so I was a school teacher in Miami, Florida. I taught middle school reading, and then I later taught high school reading as well. Saw a lot of my students get arrested at school because they had school resource officers, which was not something that I had in my rural PA community. Um, so I wanted to learn more about that. I always felt that school should be like a place where everyone's safe, where, that should be one place where, you should just be able to learn, hang out with your friends, and really just be a kid. And so that's what made me want to go to law school, because I was like, someone needs to work on ripping that system up. Um, I My first job out of law school was working with kids who had contact with the juvenile justice system and the foster care system. So I worked in Philadelphia at an organization called the Juvenile Law Center. Um, did some great work with them, and had the opportunity to work on macro level criminal justice campaigns. So things like kids who were arrested and their parents couldn't pay their fines and fees, and now the parents were getting in trouble for it. Similarly, seemed like really messed up. And so I got the opportunity to run a variety of like statewide campaigns. And I was like, wow, this is interesting. Like, I want to do this state level work. Um, Hopped around a lot. I did state criminal justice work in Michigan, Nebraska, California. I mean, you name a state, I've probably worked there. But I ultimately settled in Louisiana, where I was doing um, a lot of expungement work, which basically involves sealing people's records and doing criminal justice policy there as well. But the thing that really stuck out was all the stories of the impact of criminal records. The one that really sticks out to me is a woman who still had a record from when she was a teen from stealing from a convenience store, and she wasn't able to get a job as a bus driver. And like the two things are not related whatsoever. Just because you stole something when you're a teen doesn't mean you can't be like a safe driver, right? So anyway, we worked with the state of Louisiana to like change those laws. I worked with an organization called Code for America to automate the expungement system. So instead of people submitting $550 for an expungement, when they had a clean record for 2 years, there would be an automated system that would just automatically clear and seal their records, which would save people a lot of money. That was the first time that I got introduced to civic tech and how technology could be helpful to resolve civil society problems. So that's what encouraged me to go back to school. I went to Harvard Kennedy School to study AI governance, emerging technologies, and large language models. Um, and so when I graduated, I landed at Public Citizen. I get to be a perpetual pot stirrer at Public Citizen. So I'm constantly suing the federal government for like Freedom of Information Act requests, trying to figure out what they're doing with all of our surveillance data that they're like building a massive facial recognition tool for, um, yelling at them for why they're procuring Grok. Um, but then other things too, like collaborating with Congress to pass online privacy bills and ensuring kids are safe online. Today, I just held a press conference with Senator Josh Hawley and Senator Durbin. So it's a wide range of things, but I really enjoy the work.
Absolutely fascinating. Oh, three of you are doing so many wonderful things. And we always, liberal arts students and Penn Staters in general, just want to help. And just to hear the wide variety and ranges that you're getting out there is so cool. What are some top skills that you feel are needed for a role in AI or technology? Gregory, do you want to start there? Some top skills that are needed.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I think even with AI, with ChatGPT, with Claude, whatever you use, I still think that reading is still a really important skill. Along with critical thinking, I think that something I have observed, kind of both being still recently a student, and TAing and teaching classes when I was at Chicago, as well as kind of my current role. I think there's a tendency for people to kind of take the outputs of some of these models and kind of treat them as facts, not to review them as much, just treat them as they are. And I think it's still really important to be able to kind of read critically, think critically about what's coming out of these models and be able to kind of judge the outputs. And so just because you can summarize a book really quickly with ChatGPT doesn't mean you can't, you have to, stop actually processing and understanding what it's saying. And there are a lot of things that those kinds of models simply still don't capture when they output things. But beyond that, I think it's a willingness to, I think that the critical thinking is a really important piece, but I think it's still a willingness to like be creative and think out of the box. I think one of the coolest things about AI is that like there's a lot more out there that we can do that anyone can just do. So things that maybe would have taken entire teams of people to do and or several sort of hours and days and weeks and months to do, you can put together relatively quickly. And, there are some questions about, how reliable that code is and all that, and that's a whole other separate topic. But the fact that, now you can really, realize the ideas that you have, the creativity that you normally possess into coming up with different products and ideas and solutions. And I think that creativity is still really important. It's not something that AI can replace. And is in fact, I think AI can help augment in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I wanted to go with that because Gregory, I love that because the first thing that I was thinking was one of for at least for the work that I do within I think that the skills that are necessary are probably not the technical skills. They're more of the human durable skills that we need to be able to problem solve, critically think, and honestly, like curiosity, willingness, and wanting to learn, wanting to try things, be resourceful, and then research those things and critically think about what that output is. But I think what's really interesting about the top skills within maybe more of a technology AI role is probably not the technical knowledge. It's more about those durable skills to make you, I'll call it, make you a human and really make you be able to think and see where maybe the AI is not giving you the best responses or how to kind of iterate with that AI, kind of critically argue right with AI and kind of being able to get to kind of where you think makes sense for that brainstorming or that idea creation or whatever it is that you're working on with AI. So yeah, so Gregory, I fully agree in that I think really the most important skills are the human skills.
Mhm. Agree, 100%.
Yeah, yeah, no surprise. Plus one that everything was said before me. I think the other thing that I'll add is, yeah, depends if you're working in a more sort of like highly technical skilled role that's like just, coding intensive. Um, I work sort of at the like sweet spot of, 100% fully just interpersonal, in-person type of situation and like the technical end. I kind of refer to myself as like a bridge between like folks. So like I often speak with the technical community and I absorb that information and I'll be like, all right, I just read this research paper. I'm going to tell you what I think it means. Confirm to me, like, am I understanding it? Because I now need to like take that information and synthesize it. And then the other thing is that like I need to share that information with a variety of audiences. So like the way that I share that highly technical information with just a general population audience is going to be different than the way that I share it with like a senator who quite frankly might be a little bit older and like not very like AI literate or tech literate. Um, but that also might be very different than how I share it with like a senior staffer who like may be way more technical than like me or the senator combined. And then that's even different than the way that I might share with the general population at like a rally or something so that they like understand what I'm saying in like short snippets and like rememberable quotes. So, all of that sort of like synthesis is like judgment calls, is like translating and like figuring out how to best convey the message that I want in the amount of time that I have.
Yeah.
For our next question from the Q&A, with the current mainstream AI platforms available, which do you think that students should make themselves most familiar with, and which ones do you think will still be relevant like 5 years down the line?
I mean, I generally speaking, my career is one of like, I think it's helpful to be a generalist. Like, I think it's helpful to be familiar with just all the different programs that are available, sort of the mainstream platform ones like Google Gemini, Claude, or ChatGPT. Um, so I definitely think familiarity with all of them. I don't really think there's much point in trying to roll the dice and predict if OpenAI is going to exist in 5 years. But generally, like, understanding things like prompt engineering or really like fully understanding that you need to review the outputs. Because I think we're just like heading in full force to a generation of folks who are just assuming that, as Greg mentioned, that outputs are like law or that they're like, I mean, we're already seeing lawyers being sanctioned for citing to fake cases. Like, there are ways in which you can use these LLMs to sort of control the realm of research that they're pulling from so that they're not pulling from like the entire corpus of the internet. And I think that type of expertise is going to be far more important than like, do you really know how to use Claude or do you really know how to use Llama?
Mhm. Yeah. I would say I definitely agree. I think kind of following up too, I think one thing I often say when I talk about like this broader idea, even just of like responsible AI, is I think knowing when to use AI and when just to not use AI. And I think are really important. I think again, kind of I also don't know what's going to exist in 5 years. I think no one knew any of what we have right now would have existed 5 years ago. But I think having just like a general literacy about these tools and about AI, I think is really important. I think knowing when to use AI and kind of very broadly defined not is really important. Knowing when a large language model in particular is really useful versus a maybe more traditional machine learning model. I think just being again kind of a generalist, I think I would also consider myself a pretty big generalist of having and knowing enough to engage with people who maybe know more, who are more specialized in those areas, and when to employ these tools versus when something really does need human review or human in the loop, or really is just a fundamentally human process that really can't be automated. And I think having the literacy enough to know when to use these tools and how to kind of pick up and use Claude versus like Claude Chatbot, Claude Code, Claude Cowork, Codex, all the various spawns thereof, and just kind of understanding that at a fundamental level, I think is, or fundamental level, and also like how to make the decisions with these tools, I think is more important than the actual tools themselves.
Um, I fully agree with both of you, and I think that lends nicely into the Penn State. Actually, I'm gonna maybe be a plug for Penn State here. Um, but when you think about, we're talking about which tools, are going to be relevant and how do I make sure that I'm getting these skills? Well, right now I was actually in a 2-day conference. I was talking about AI literacy in K-12 and higher education because what's happening right now, because AI kind of just came and, well, not AI, but generative AI came like a whirlwind and everyone was kind of learning together. And so right now, higher ed institutions, K-12 institutions are trying to figure out how do we build these AI literacy skills that Gregory and JB were just talking about, and like how do we actually understand what generative AI is, what isn't it, what makes sense to use it, how do we do it ethically, how do we understand how to critically evaluate that. Those are things that, are skills that you need to learn. And so actually Penn State is in the process of creating some AI literacy modules that everyone at Penn State will need to do. So they're going to have versions for faculty, for staff, for students, because faculty and staff are learning this along with students, right? So we're all kind of in this together. Unless you're in as an AI expert, we're all kind of trying to figure out what makes the most sense and how best to use this and how to use it ethically, how to make sure we still have our voice in there, how do we make sure we're using proper resources. So that is something that Penn State is striving towards, and hopefully in the fall, not hopefully it is coming in the fall, there will be actually like AI literacy foundational modules, concepts, things that students are going to need to be able to complete to help in starting that process of being able to understand the best ways to use AI. And I fully agree about the tools. Right now, there's a lot of tools out there. I'm claiming it's kind of like the streaming. Like when streaming happened, there was like 80 million streaming services and everyone was trying to get on them, and they've slowly started to creep down. They're starting to like merge and kind of, either combine or go away. And I think that's also what's gonna happen with AI and those modules. It's gonna kind of just take some time to figure that out. So be a generalist, try different models. Different models are good for different things, right? They all kind of have their little, I'll call it expertises in a way, or they kind of work better for different routes. And one thing that you will also have access to as Penn State students, starting the fall, everything is happening in the fall, is we're actually going to have a platform, call it like a Roku, where you'll be able to log into a platform and actually access different models. So you'll be able to access Gemini, Claude, ChatGPT, to utilize as a student. So you'll be able to actually navigate and try out different tools in a platform that is going to be safe and secure with underneath Penn State safety and security guidelines that will be free for you all. So you won't have to have the subscription to all of the different things, and you can kind of have this safe place to, kind of look, experiment, try underneath that safety of Penn State's guardrails, basically.
This is fascinating. And all those students, all these students that are on this panel, you're very lucky you're here. This is just so great. Thank you so much. I'm just thinking critical thinking, be creative, thinking out of the box, communication across all levels, and and not trusting everything that comes out of AI, right? So lots of great suggestions there. We do have a question in the Q&A. I want to break into tech, but I will just finish college. I will finish college with another liberal arts major, but I really want to get the experience. How can someone get that type of experience? Maybe their major's not directly in technology.
I mean, I think we all were that. I don't think any of us had a degree in technology, right? Like to start off at, here at Penn State, and it was through different experiences. I don't think you necessarily get it all at once, but you kind of learn through different things that pop up. But during your time at Penn State, you can join different clubs or interact in different experiences that aren't necessarily in your major. Um, I know we have like the Nittany AI Alliance, right? So that's a little bit more technical, but that's all based on student AI projects. Here in our unit, we often will hire students for different types of roles. We actually just hired a student whose their entire job is to build an AI project of their choice. So there are different opportunities within the university, whether that be clubs, organizations. You can take some classes and talk to your professors. A lot of times they might know someone who knows someone who might be able to help you in a way. But I would say the first thing is, use the resources that are here on campus. Like, look at what job opportunities might be available as a part-time position here, different clubs. There are a ton of different, I don't even know all the clubs, but there are lots of different tech-oriented student organizations. And then I know that there's some AI minors, different things like that. So I would say, if you don't feel like you have that tech experience quite yet, using some resources here at Penn State to help build those, help to gauge your interest, your excitement, figure out what it is that you like to help push you in different directions. I mean, I didn't find out that I liked this realm until I was 10 years into a career. And actually, when I was in college, I hated technology. So my parents think it's so crazy that I'm at a job that talks about technology all the time because I used to yell about how much I hated it. So you never know, based on the skills that you get through the different experiences you have.
Yeah. I on the exact same note, my first major when I started was IST, Information Science Technology. And, you know, no shade to professors, but I took one class and was like, this is boring. I don't like this at all. Um, and then I got a master's in computer science and I do computer science and software engineering and all that now. So who's to say what happens in your future? I will say that I think for me, the thing that made, CS and IT and all those things click were the projects and were the kind of me delving into an idea and I project that I had in mind and just doing a lot of self-teaching, a lot of self-learning and, investing time in what I actually cared about. Um, I think, I mean, obviously school is great. You learn so much in school, but I think a lot of times, at least for me, a lot of the most learning I ever had was when I was just teaching myself on a project, on a random task that I just had an idea about one day and then decided to spend, 2 weeks on. Um, my program at U Chicago mainly focused on Python. I, I learned a lot about computer science fundamentally and Python in my classes. But for all of the programming languages that I know, I just taught myself because I had an idea and I sat down and I worked on it. And so I think there's a lot of really value in just like coming up with projects that you care about as a person based off of your interests and what matters to you and just doing that. I think AI in particular is also really useful in self-teaching. You have to, make sure you're reviewing the sources and again, kind of everything else we were talking about. But, when I was teaching myself Go, which is a language that's like not the most popular language, but, it's been around for a little bit, using Claude, using ChatGPT was really helpful in teaching myself that language. But at the end of the day, I still spent the time investing in the building of skills and the competencies in literacy to be able to use and write in that language, and was able to do something that I actually cared about. That was something that originated from me. So I think projects are a great way of learning new skill sets, even if that's maybe not what you're initially taught. And frankly, if like you're not necessarily as interested in like the technical aspects of a software engineering project or AI project, whatever, if it is like the thinking about the AI like policy and governance and things like that, then I also would encourage you to spend time writing about it as well. I have friends who like they're not really interested in the code or the tech or anything like that, or the coding level of it all, but they're really interested in how we use these tools. And for them, they have Substacks, like they just write about it. I read it, it's great. And I think just finding ways to kind of figure out what it is you care about in these areas and then get more practice and experience doing that.
Yeah, the other thing that I'd say just very quickly is that like all of these tech companies have non-technical roles. They have communication departments, they have policy departments, they have like product management or product like communications as well. So like it might sound technical, but it's actually not and has to do with like how do you launch a product. So just because you don't have like a technical background doesn't mean that you can't find yourself working at, some tech company. Um, the other thing too is that there are like so many fellowships that are like coming out now, like AI related fellowships, tech related fellowships. There's this place called the Center for AI and Digital Privacy, CADIP, that has fellowships. Google has the Google Public Policy Fellowships. There are just so many out there. And so I would look into those. And then the last thing that I'd say is like, you know, aside from the experiential uh, aspect of it, like a lot of it is just the hustle to like get your foot in the door. And like a lot of people don't like to do that extra work. Like I remember I felt so like awkward and cringy, like asking for informational interviews on LinkedIn or like posting on LinkedIn and getting like 5 likes and being like, oh my God, I feel like such a loser or something. But like you have to interact with like those platforms to get them like working for you. But the way that I got like the furthest in a lot of my job interviews was like finding new job postings on LinkedIn, like within the last like 5 hours or something, and then like applying to it. But then I'd also find people who had posted about the job, and then I would reach out to them directly. And a lot of people were like, oh, don't do that. That's weird, blah, blah, blah. Like 90% of the people who I wrote to wrote back to me and were like, yeah, I'll do an informational. Like they're just people. And people LinkedIn message me all the time and I respond like 90% of the time as well. So, that doing that, like, because what will secretly happen is like someone plucks your application and pulls it aside, and then it's now up to you to interview well and do all the stuff and be prepared. But like just that interaction, there are hundreds, if not thousands of people applying to these jobs. And so any way that you can like get an advantage is going to be huge, especially for people who are graduating into a job market that is like pretty bleak. So I would be like on my hustle, reaching out to people for informational interviews, alumni, folks on LinkedIn, things like that.
My next question for you all is it safe for AI to be incorporated into so many fields and careers at this stage when it still has and makes many mistakes? Or do you think there will ever be a point for AI to become more advanced?
Yeah, I saw that question as someone who's a consumer advocate. My like heart just like I was like, oh my God, thank you so much. Um, I definitely think that like general purpose LLMs, it's the information that you're gathering from these things are only as strong as like the quality control on the user end as well to like realize like, is this a good source? Is this not a good source? Um, I think there's a lot of validity to the concerns about like how well even like specific niche case like AI products are working. I think there's a lot of like AI snake oil that's being like hucked around. There are a lot of people who are claiming their products are AI, but it's actually not AI. Um, and then there are a lot of people like selling enterprise AI models, like selling them to schools, selling them to like mental health like organizations, claiming that it's going to like do all these things, and they have no evidence for it. Like there is no like we're not talking like oh there's like no years of evidence supporting any of this stuff. And so people are like diverting resources from like teachers or mental health counselors or like all these like real human jobs that we know are evidence based, and they're just like making $1 million bets that AI is going to be the solution. And like it's kind of the situation of like if you want a simple solution to solve a hard problem, like you'll just find a simple solution. Like I feel like that's what's happening right now. Like the real solution is we need to fund things more as just like a society. But instead, people are like, well, what's the easy out? Like, oh, AI, use that. Um, and so yeah, to your point, like I don't think that's smart long term. I think, in the future, there will be really high quality like LLMs, far better than what we have right now. But I think we're in this like super dodgy gray area right now.
Yeah, I agree. I kind of feel like we're in I don't know if this is like a weird, but like we're in like the teenager stage maybe of like figuring this out, maybe still an infancy stage, right? Like there's still like I do obviously think that, AI is going to advance and in what ways we have no idea. But it is still making mistakes. It is, it depends on what it's trained on. We know that it makes things up if it doesn't know. It kind of will kind of adhere to, I'll call it the personality you've been providing it based on how you're prompting it and the information that you're giving it. And so I think that's where those critical skills, and we're going to need those as AI continues to advance because we can't just take AI's word for it. So if we think about the coding that is just like, I'm not a coder and I will say AI has been helpful. And I'm like, I don't know how to code this. Like, can you do this for me? But if you don't have the experts behind reviewing that code, making sure that it's going to work or testing out weird things that it might happen if you give it this case and that case, you're going to end up building something that potentially could be very fragile or fail in lots of different ways. And so I think we're also trying to figure this out. Unfortunately, a lot of the big tech companies are seeing money, and I think unfortunately that's why it's being driven and driven so fast is there's money tied to it. And so unfortunately, sometimes it depends on what we're valuing as to what makes it and how far it goes. And there are a lot of companies that are like, AI is the hot word right now. We just need to do something and put AI in it. And then we'll figure out all of the safeguards and the process, which should really be the backwards way, but it's moving so fast and no one wants to be left behind. And so people are kind of very much doing cart before the horse, but it's like, I don't even know if you can really say cart before horse. It's like very, very far away. And we're still trying to play catch up because we don't fully understand everything yet. And we're trying to navigate this as it's continuing to advance. And so it's going to be really interesting to see what happens in the future. I definitely agree it's going to advance, but I think it means we need to make sure that we keep humans in control of understanding what this AI is, how to use it, the safeguards around it. I think the governance is really important. We had a speaker come in last year, and he was talking about like right now the big or the big tech companies are kind of driving the direction of AI, and it probably really shouldn't be. And that is not really necessarily it's good for them and ad revenue and money, but what is good for maybe ethics and integrity, and do we need to have nonprofits or government? Like they should all be a part of that AI governance conversation as well. So I don't know. I think we're in a very mucky area right now. I don't know if that answered your question.
Yeah. Again, 100% agree with everything that's been said. I think this kind of goes to a point that was previously made in terms of getting back into like what non-technical roles are there in the tech area of tech, I think there is not enough work focused on human-centered design and UI UX work when it comes to
Mm.
AI. That kind of, and I think part of my background is doing research, quantitative and qualitative in the field of economics, community development. And so I feel like I will see us try to implement AI, and there's no research to suggest that it would be useful for this particular task. But also I see us trying to implement AI in places where it's not, no one wants to use that. And I think it's clear that AI is just I think I used this the other day. There's like an AI sized object they're trying to put into a human shaped hole. And then we keep trying to do that all the time. We're like, sometimes it maybe kind of works. Sometimes it seems like it's going to work right now, but we'll find out in a couple of years that it didn't. Um, but there are a lot of times where it's pretty obvious that no one actually is going to use this tool that uses AI. And so I think when, again, thinking about what you can potentially do in the field of technology, AI, if you're not necessarily a technical person, I think being the one to understand, systems and kind of human experience, UI, UX kind of work, user experience, user interfaces, user experience work, understanding that like there are just fundamentally processes and things that people want another human to interact with, or at the very least, like the way that people are trying to implement AI in this case is not what people want. People will not use it. We can spend all this money and it will be a waste. So I think being that voice is important.
Thank you all so much for all that wonderful information. Lauren has placed some links in the chat along with Gregory to fellowship that he's doing currently. And, these are the starting conversations. Like I could be on this call for 3 more hours tonight, but we don't want to take up these alumni's valuable time. And I mean, the information that they're giving is so amazing. But JB mentioned earlier, informational interviews, reaching out, talking to people, asking questions, listening to their stories, listening to what they're doing. We have a couple more questions in the QA. I don't know if we're going to get to them, but we will do our best to get the panelists to take a look at them and answer them, and we will follow up with everyone that's in attendance. Um, Let me ask you this. Were there any resources at Penn State that you felt were valuable or really helped you get a start in a certain area? Or you'd encourage other students to get involved in, or research or training or anything that you might have done here at Penn State?
My non,
Oh, go
oh,
ahead.
sorry.
Go ahead, Gregory.
Oh, sorry. I'll say my non-answer was kind of everything, a little bit of everything. Um, I think I remember when I was getting ready to interview for an internship, I had people who were upperclassmen of me, like helping me do interview prep. I, reached out to alumni, I talked to my professors, I talked to career services people. So I feel like I talked to a lot of the people who were just in the general network and the Penn State community, and I found them all to be helpful. And I definitely wouldn't be where I am right now without the combination of all those people. So I definitely like, talk to people who are in your networks, talk to your upperclassmen, talk to your alumni, talk to your professors, because I think there is a lot of knowledge across all those various people.
Yeah, I mean, Gregory took my answer too. I was gonna say people would be, I think, your number one resource, right? Even if you go to an office, you're there to talk to the people, right? So whether that's your faculty members and your professors, remember they are industry experts and they have a lot of knowledge and information and potentially can help build your network in lots of different ways. And I think sometimes faculty are an underutilized network sometimes. And I get this, I'm saying this as someone who, when I was in college, I didn't talk to my professors. And the first time I went to a career fair, I walked in and walked out because I didn't prepare anything and realized I was vastly underprepared. But knowing that I didn't necessarily do some of those things did teach me a lot of like, you really need those people to help support you. We don't get anywhere in this life without the support of people, whether that is the career office, that your family, your community, your friends. I think student orgs and your peers are a really great resource, especially if you have upperclassmen peers. There's a lot of maybe, different types of, I'll call it industry related student orgs where you have people that are interested in the similar types of things that they've maybe done internships or they have different networks that you can kind of tap into. So I would say again, same ideas, really tap into your community and build the community. I think is really important while you're here at Penn State.
The one thing that I'll flag for me, agree with everything that's been said, but money, like there's so much money at Penn State, like grant money, scholarships, internship like money. and some of it goes unused because some folks don't know that it exists. So like talk to everybody that you can. I'm the first of my family to like go to college, so money was a very like it was a sensitive subject, and like I felt a lot of shame around like even raising it. Like, hey, my parents can't float me $5,000 for like summer housing. Like I felt embarrassed about it, but like you shouldn't be embarrassed. There's plenty of students who are in the same boat. There's plenty of money out there like for those students so that they can experience those opportunities. And if you can't afford to do something, like more likely than not, there's a pot of money dedicated for students, whether it's studying abroad, doing an internship, even if it's something as small as like just a flight ticket to your internship, like there's likely money for it at Penn State. You just have to like have the courage to ask. And I just really encourage folks to do that. I can't put a dollar amount on how much money was given to me from Penn State to like I studied abroad at Oxford, I did an internship in DC, like I did research at Duke, like it was all funded from Penn State to do everything like here and there. So definitely keep that in mind because the school wants you all to succeed, no matter your like financial background, and that's what that money's there for.
Yeah. I say I'm not sure if it's still around, but I think I was awarded the Chapel Executive internship at some point, which again, I used that when I first studied or interned in DC, and again, incredibly helpful. So 100% agree.
Is there one last piece of advice that you would all give to us students?
I think the piece of advice that I give students is there's a lot of pressure to seem like you have it all figured out. Like my junior year of college, I like got broken up with someone who I thought I was going to get married to. Like the legal market was awful, which I wanted to go to law school, but like there were no legal jobs. Like everyone seems to make it seem like you're going to graduate from college and the job that you have is going to be the job that you have for the rest of your life. And like I've changed my job like 7 or 8 times. I've completely career pivoted from like being a teacher to criminal justice to now working in like tech, and I would have never predicted that. So like it's easy for me to say on this other end of things, but like to the extent possible, like try not to stress out about having your whole life planned out before you. Like enjoy your time right now, just try to find that first thing that's going to be like good for you, whatever that is. Um, and then everything else, like it'll sort itself out later.
Well, I love that. That's hard to follow. I'm not gonna lie, because I do think there's a lot of pressure on students, and I think the whole idea of we all have it figured out. I think we continue to figure it out forever, and sometimes you never like quite figure it all out. You kind of figure it out for you, but it's a lifelong process to continue to figure things out because things change and life changes. So for me, I would say listen to your intuitions, follow your interests, right? Because that's what's where you're going to find your passions and your excitement. And, be willing to take those risks to kind of follow those areas of interest. And because, again, you don't know what worlds might open up to you. Um, this reference is really dated right now, probably, but I remember when I was in college, there wasn't even a thing such as social media, like that didn't exist as like a job, and now there's like literally like divisions and departments and all kinds of, you don't know what's necessarily out there. So keep following your interests. You don't know what direction it might take you. You don't even necessarily know what jobs may or may not be available in 5 years because of technology and AI. It's a very fast evolving world. So I think, stay curious, keep learning, and follow your interests, and you'll land somewhere good.
Yeah. Yeah, 100% agree again, as always. I definitely think being staying curious, also just being really open. I think someone similarly, like I graduated and went to economic consulting for a couple of years, which is very, very different from what I do now. I interned work in Kenya, which is also something I like never expected to do. I feel like I had maybe wanted to go like work, study abroad at some point and ended up doing that. And I think a lot of these things, which I feel like if you look at it from a high level view, it doesn't always make sense because like it seems really non-linear. But I think it's just kind of me being curious and being open and kind of being driven by my interests. And I think there's so much possibility out there. You do not need to have the rest of your life planned at this point at all. And I think just like, whatever you're doing at the moment, like do a good job, like work at it, but also just being constantly being curious and constantly being open to grow and learn and new experiences.
Awesome. Thank you. I just want to thank Paris and Lauren for helping with the Q&A. We have a couple questions left, so we're going to reach out to the panelists after. If you would like to take a poke at answering those, we'll get that out to everyone attending. Thank you so much, JB, Gregory, and Sherry. This was absolutely just a fascinating. We're a little over time, and I apologize for that. But this was just a wonderful conversation, and thank you so much for sharing this new and exciting field, AI and technology, and just giving us a little insight and giving the students that are on here just a little bit more information to help them be better prepared. So if you're in Penn State on campus, definitely stop by and see us. We'd love to have you here, Sherry. We know where you are. We will come find you. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.